Hey everybody, Jamie Bunn with Fish Bluewater. Hope you're all doing great. So springtime is here and it's one of my absolute favorite times of the year when it comes to fishing offshore. And why? Because you have the arrival of some incredible pelagics. I'm talking about wahoo, dolphin, kingfish, tuna, cobia. These are all species that our summer tournament series is built around. And so that's what I want to talk a little bit with you guys about in this video. If you've watched some of our previous Fish Bluewater videos, you probably saw where we talked about the process involved in terms of rigging up a kite rod when it comes to sailfish setup. Because meat fish season is here, we're going to change things up a little bit now. And the typical setup that we will utilize when it comes to meat fishing is not the same as sail fishing. So I'm going to take this opportunity here in this video to show you how we go through setting up one of these meat fish rods for kite fishing. So stand by and we're going to go through the tackle that you need, and then we're going to go through the process of setting it up. All right, so what kind of terminal tackle do we use when it comes to setting up a kite rod for meat fishing? First things first, I've got the same rod that we utilized in the video before. Nothing's changing there for me. Love these Talica BFC reels. It's a great all-around conventional reel for live baiting here in South Florida. Got a standard 7-foot conventional rod. This reel is equipped with 20-pound test line. To that, I am going to be tying in, I've got 40-pound leader material, more than enough as far as the test is concerned for just about anything we're going to tangle with in the ocean out here. And then I have my wire rig, which we're going to get into here in a minute. Obviously, we've got a lot of toothy critters that we're chasing around, so to make sure they don't go straight through that mono, we've got an attachment of wire here. This happens to be titanium. I'll talk about that here in a minute. And then just a quick set of snips to put this all together. So next up, we're going to talk about how we make that happen. All right, so we've got our gear together, guys. Now it's time to put this together so that the next step after that, we're ready to go fishing. So if you remember in the previous video, if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out in terms of how we put together a kite rod setup for sail fishing. Remember, we had a float, we had a kite ring, we had a snap swivel in our leader material, which visually is great for sail fishing. In the case of meat fishing, remember, we have a gaff, and we're actually looking to bring these fish in the boat and hopefully bring them to a scale or to our dinner table, right? So with the float and the swivel system, when you're sail fishing, the benefit is the visibility. The drawback is you can only get that fish as close as you can get that snap swivel and float, and then depending upon how long your leader is, you're going to have to typically grab that leader and hand line that fish within gaff range of the boat. When we're meat fishing, we want to avoid all that because that's where a lot of the problems can occur. And so we move to a wind-on format, all wind-on, no swivels, no floats, no anything in the case of meat fishing. So the first step I'm going to show you is how we make that line-to-line connection, which is going to be through a blood knot. In a previous video as well, we showed you how to make that line connection in a uni-to-uni connection. The blood knot happens to be my go-to for meat fishing, so that's coming up next. All right, so we're about to make our line-to-line connection for that wind-on with the blood knot. So what I've done here, I've got my 40-pound test line, I've got my 20-pound test line, side by side, overlapping one another. I'm going to take the 40-pound and I'm going to go 5 times around the 20-pound test line. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5. Now where I've got that line-to-line connection between my thumb and forefinger. I'm going to take that 40 pound, my bad eyes and all. I'm going to go back through there, okay? Hold that in place. Now I'm going to go 6 times down this side. This is just a personal preference. It's the lighter line side of the knot. So I give it 1 extra twist. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we go back up through that knot in the opposite direction. Not the knot, excuse me, the opening of that line. Pull them both down tight. Wet them up a little bit. Get them nice and snug, like so. Then I'm going to take a couple of wraps on this side with this hand, a couple of wraps on that side with that hand. Get ready to pull my connection nice and tight. I'll get this so you guys can see it a little better on camera. Got a weird angle because of the way this line is coming off. There we go. Pull that nice and tight. I mean, I'm putting so much pressure on that you can't imagine. And if this is done all properly, you've got both tag ends coming out of that knot in the opposite direction. Now the final step that we're going to take here, grab my little handy dandy snips. If you remember in a previous video, I talked about fingernail clippers, which are also a great tool. You want to trim that as close to that knot as you possibly can, so you don't have any sharp or long tag ends, right? There we go. Now my knot to knot connection is complete. So now what I'm going to do, here's one of the things when it comes to meat fishing that I prefer to do. Particularly if you're fun fishing, most of these tournaments don't have any set requirements, at least our meat fish tournaments don't, on the length of leader. And because this is a wind on, I'm going to wind on a good probably 20, 30 feet of 40 pound leader material onto this reel. So let me go ahead and pull some off here just like that. Grab that leader back. There we go. Let it go right on. A little bit more. No exact amount. Snip it right there. And I'm ready to make my attachment to the wire. Now, some of you may be wondering, why such a long leader material? Well, remember, we're fishing throughout the course of a day, particularly with these toothy critters, or you may be catching several fish out of the kite where you're constantly re-rigging. And if you have this longer leader material like this, it prevents the need to actually re-tie in, splice another blood knot, another leader throughout the day. This will get me through days and days of meat fishing typically on this one tie-in. So that's the reason. Next up, we're going to tie that wire in. All right, guys. So we're ready to make our final connection and then go fishing. So what I have here is a coil of 40 pound titanium leader. On another video, not too long from now, we will show you guys actually how we create this rig, how we make the connections for tying the titanium wire rigs, the sleeves that we use, and all that good stuff. This is a little bit more costly than your traditional wire that you twist by hand. However, as far as bite throughs and bite offs, it's far less common with titanium wire than regular wire, which is why you see most of the guys spending the extra money in the tournaments, if nothing else, on this wire. So I've already got myself a small little 80 pound Spro barrel swivel there. Love the Spro swivels. And all we're gonna do is a standard fisherman's knot. There's nothing complicated about this. Simply just gonna take my 40 pound line and do 4 or 5 wraps on that 40 pound leader. Wet it up a little bit so then we're ready to pull down. It's a nice, smooth, even pull. Sometimes I'll just take my wire right on the edge of that to give myself a nice solid spot to pull from. Just pull down just like that. You see that knot cinched down nice and easy. Take my snips, Snip off my tag end. And now we have about 30 inches of titanium wire attached with an 80-pound Spro barrel swivel to about 30 feet of 40-pound fluorocarbon, not fluorocarbon, excuse me, just regular leader. And the beauty of this, guys, watch this. I can take that all the way to the tip of the rod. So if you imagine, I mean, I can get that fish this close to the boat within 2-3 feet of gaffing range. And that's the reason why we use that wind-on technique for meat fishing this time of the year. So next up, what do you say? How about we put these rods to the test? We're gonna throw some bait in the boat. The wind is blowing, there's some fish around. So we're gonna get out and see if we can put some meat fish in the boat. Jamie Bunn, Fish Blue Water. We'll see you for part 2.